Hey now, party people, Matt Haywood here from the Star Wars Time Show, and I'm back with another comic book recap slash breakdown slash new canon, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. We're doing it, and we're doing it live. Alright, so today we're checking out Crimson Reign number 3, which I believe we have 2 more to go in this mini-series, and this one deals exclusively with the journey of the Archivist, who we know through this comic has been relating the tale to someone in the future timeline about what Kira was trying to do during the timeline that was in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which again, if you need reminding, was to kill the Sith. That's right. She didn't care about becoming the biggest crime syndicate in the galaxy. She didn't care about gaining any more power. All she wanted to do was to take out Sidious and Vader, the Sith, who she knew were Sith through her time working with Maul. All right, so like I said, in issue 3 here, we get a deep dive into the character of the Archivist, and we find out early on that she didn't always look like this kind of a almost zombie hag, right? You know, she got that dead eye and white hair and blue skin. She was actually quite a lovely young lady, and we learned that she was a scholar, a professor of the Force, not a Force user, but someone that studied it, in particular the dark side, because she thought that that was the truer side of the Force. But obviously, with Order 66 and the death of the Jedi, and you know the galaxy trying to keep the whole idea of Force sensitives being a thing out of the public discourse, her career was ruined. She ends up becoming like a junk trader. But luckily, someone shows up just in the nick of time as the Imperials are shaking her down in her stall. And that person sending those blaster bolts is none other than a foxy-looking Kira. Look at that. That's as Crimson Dawn as it gets. And I'm kind of ashamed that this comic book panel is turning me on a bit. But enough said. She comes here to rescue the Archivist because she knows that she can be an asset to Crimson Dawn when it comes to tracking down things or people or beings that can be used to take on Sidious and Vader. So like I said, she breaks the news to the Archivist early on in their meeting that, like, listen, it's not really the Empire or this, that, and the other thing. It's Palpatine, who is Darth Sidious. So this gives the Archivist motivation, because now she has a little bit of vengeance in her heart, because she knows that Palpatine was the one that took her career away from her by burying the Jedi Order and talking about the Force in general. So she's down, and this is where she joins Crimson Dawn. I'm not quite sure where this is at in the timeline, because in War of the Bounty Hunters, where Crimson Dawn and the Archivists are involved, she has already changed form a bit. You can see here she still has purple hair and normal colored skin and full use of both of her peepers. But anyways, we learned a few issues back in Crimson Reign that Kira tasked the Archivist with tracking down Yoda. She somehow knew that Yoda was alive and felt like if Crimson Dawn got a hold of a Jedi, that could help them in their war against Sidious. So we do get some cool backstory, at least for fans of the prequel, where in her studies she's starting to track down, like, where could Yoda have ended up based on existing knowledge, such that he was last seen on Kashyyyk, but there were reports of him on Coruscant right around the end of the launching of Order 66 and Palpatine's big power grab. So I found this interesting, and her deep dive ultimately led her to Bail Organa in the Tantive 3. Now, considering at this point in the timeline, you know, we're somewhere past A New Hope, maybe in the early Empire time, Bail's gone, so she can't go shake him down. But she does figure out that the pilot of the Tantive 3, or in this case the Tantive 4, was captured when Darth Vader boarded it in A New Hope and was being held in an Imperial prison. So using the Crimson Dawn network that spans other criminal syndicates, the Empire itself, probably even the Rebellion, she gets into the prison and uses this Ascendant device, which is kind of like a wannabe Sith tool. You're not a Sith, you don't really have a Force, but these Ascendants made these devices to kind of give them that power. So she shakes him down, and the pilot does reveal kind of a location, the Sluis sector. And it just so happens that Dagobah is in the Sluice sector, so she makes it there, again with the intent of finding Yoda. But knowing how Dagobah is, she gets herself into a bit of trouble, almost gets eaten by the local, monsters and the fauna and the flora and all that stuff. But lo and behold, something guides her to the Force Cave. Yep, the same one that we saw in Empire Strikes Back. And here's the interesting thing. Again, she was supposed to get Yoda for Crimson Dawn. She was one of the only people in the galaxy at this point in time, outside of really Luke Skywalker and Force Ghost Obi-Wan Kenobi, that knew for sure that Yoda was on Dagobah. But thanks to her time in the cave, in the vision she had, which we don't even know what it was. All I can tell you is that the vision was so profound that she comes out with white hair, blue skin, and a dead eye. But what the vision also taught her was that Yoda essentially chose for her to go to the cave to learn something. To learn that, the putting all her faith in the dark side probably wasn't the way to go. Maybe the light side was a better way to go. So even though she knew Yoda was on Dagobah, she knew he directed her to the Force Cave to have whatever vision she had, she could have sold him out. But instead, upon her return to Crimson Dawn, after her vision and the thought of Yoda actually giving her a lesson, she decides to protect him. And like I said, you can see here in this final panel, the light side shows us who we could be. So she experienced some growth through Yoda. But what that means is she denied Crimson Dawn Yoda's location and lied about it and said that Yoda was dead, to which Kira believed her and moved on. So I found that to be some pretty interesting new canon, that Crimson Dawn ultimately were one of the only, well, at least the archivists within Crimson Dawn was one of the only people in the galaxy outside of Luke Skywalker and Force Ghost Obi-Wan that knew where Yoda was, and she did nothing with that knowledge. That knowledge could have brought her a lot of power, but she chose to keep him safe thanks to whatever vision was given to her in the Force Cave. Overall, though, the issue was kind of boring. I'm finding Crimson Reign not to be as engaging as War of the Bounty Hunters. It seems like we're focusing too much on some of the individual members and not really getting into Kira's plot and what happens with it. I'm sure it's coming down the road, but in the end, if it really wasn't for the Yoda stuff, this kind of wouldn't have been another ho-hum issue. All right, my friends, hopefully you dug that breakdown. If you did, you know what to do. You know what to do. Start clicking on that sub button if you're not already subbed. If you are, make sure you have notifications turned on. Leave a like and a comment, and share it with a friend. It's a very easy process. You can do it rinse and repeat style. If you like the Star Wars Time Show or you like the style of this video, we do a weekly podcast and live stream, so make sure to hit those links down in the description to get subbed up to our podcast platforms, and if you can, leave a rating and review. Why, might you ask? Well, there is always time for Star Wars Time, and if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show or watch Star Wars Time Show material, the Force will be with you, always.